Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and today I'm going to show you just how easy it is to upgrade the projectors in your 2014 to 2015 GMC Sierra. The kit I'm using today is the Retrofit Sources Retro-quick system. So basically what this system, the baseline system consists of is new projectors as well as brackets to retrofit them into your stock housing. Now, this installation requires a little bit of cutting on the headlight. You don't have to open up the whole headlight completely. You just got to cut the back off, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But again, once you get the headlight back open, you're able to remove the stock projector, bolt in the new projector with the bracket, and then get everything set up. So in order to make this kit work with your car, you need to make sure that you have an HID kit. And then also when you're upgrading your projectors here, you're going to have to make sure you're getting the proper bulbs. So the projectors that come in the kit, the Retro-quick kit, are the D2S bulbs. So in this kit I bought the 5500 bulb, and then you're also going to need the igniters for the D2S bulb. So one important thing when you're buying new igniters, if you already have a retrofit kit source or a Morimoto HID kit, make sure you talk to TRS before you order your igniters, because these igniters have to work with specific ballast. So I have the 35 watt Morimoto ballast in my truck, and I had to order one new one because I had a silver series and an orange series, and it's all based on the color of the brackets that come with your ballast. So make sure you know what color the brackets are before you're ordering your new kit, if you already have a TRS kit. If not, when you're ordering the Retro-quick system, you could order everything all in one fell swoop. I think the kit probably cost me $210 at the end of the day with the new bulbs, igniter, and the projector, but I will say it is money well spent. So just to give you an idea real quick of why I'm upgrading, you already know that if you're watching this video, you know the GMC Sierra headlights are terrible. They suck. And they suck for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, those headlights come with stock halogen bulbs, which, you know, halogens are kind of old school nowadays. Everyone's going HID or LED. But the other thing that really makes them bad or dismal light output is what's going on with the projector. So this is the stock projector out of my passenger side headlight, and like I said, I already finished that one. So hopefully you can see that. But you see the dimpling on the projector itself? My understanding is that is causing the light to diffuse out of the projector instead of being a focused pattern. So in the upgraded projector, it's a clear lens, so there's no more dimples. This also gives you a better focus lamp and a hotter hot spot and a better spread on the lamp. Okay, so I've had my headlights on for a few minutes to let the ballast and the lamps and everything warm up. So basically what this is, let me turn off the lights here to get a better view. So the driver's side, so this left side, this is the driver's side headlamp. This is the OEM projector with an HID 5500 Kelvin bulb at 35 watts. So what you're probably hopefully seeing through the camera is how blurry that the cut line is up on top, and there's really it's kind of a dismal hot spot. Now if you look on the right, that's the passenger side headlight. That's a headlight I already completed with the Retro-quick system using the new projectors. So between the new projectors and the D2S bulbs, I think it's definitely a huge increase. So I have a light meter here, and it's not a scientific test by any means, but I wanted to show you just how hot the hot spot is on one versus the other. So like I said, this side is the driver's side, and this is the OEM housing with an HID kit. So I got everything set up on foot candles, and that's the hot spot. I already measured it, and you know it's the OEM one because it says bad. So where it's at right now is measuring about 100 foot candles. Here's the meter. Again, not scientific. This isn't a controlled environment. I'm just trying to illustrate just how hot the hotspot is on the new projectors. So we're at 100 foot candles on the OEM projector with the TRS HID kit. So these are 35 watt lamps. Let's go over to the other side. So right in the hotspot on that guy. And we are over double the light output on the hotspot. Now combine that with a projector housing. Turn that back on. Now combine that with the fact that the projector itself spreads the light out better, and it's a much better light output. So I mean, you can even see it here. You got kind of a foggy yellowing spread here on the 5500K TRS HID kit in the OEM projector. But if you look on the right there, you see the spread from the new, I think they're NHK G5 projectors, but you see the spread on the side. So it's definitely a huge upgrade, and like I said, well worth the money. So let's go ahead and pull out the driver side housing, because that's the one we still got to do, and then I'll show you how to install the new projectors. And basically we're just going to be cutting off the back of the lamp, or back of the headlight, unbolting the stock projector, and then putting in the new projectors with the brackets, and then sealing up everything. Now there's a little bit of modification that needs to happen to the bracket to make it fit. You just got to shave things to make it fit perfectly, but I will show you as we go. So let's get started. All right, so we got our headlight out, and just to show you. So again, it's an OEM projector. It's got the dimpled look to it, and we're going to be swapping that out. So once you open it up on the inside, ultimately what we're trying to do is cut this area of the headlight off, pull it off, pull the projector out, put the adapter kit in there, put the projector in, then we're good to go and smooth sailing. But before we do that, before we start cutting up anything, I want to show you one of the things that you're supposed to be doing when you get new projectors. First thing you're going to do is test them. So grab a 9-volt battery, and there's no polarity to them, so it doesn't matter which one ends up on positive, which one ends up on negative. But basically what you want to do is, because these are bi-xenon, they have that actuator in here that controls the shutter. You want to test that just to make sure everything's working fine. Before you start cutting into a $400 headlight, in this case with the LEDs, $1,000 headlight, you're going to want to test that shutter a few times. So you can hear it opening and closing. Essentially what it is just that shutter there, and it's opening and closing. So again, just to prove that it's positive and negative, I'll flip them here. Really doesn't matter which side you put them on. So inside the stock projector, you're going to see some wires back in that corner. That's what's controlling the bi-xenon, so that's your high beams. So once we pull this out, we're going to clip those wires, and then we're going to attach them to the black wires on the new projector. So let's get started on everything. Move that out of the way. So before we get too far into things, just a quick overview of all the tools we're going to need. Obviously you're going to need a Dremel with a grinder wheel to fit the bracket to the projector, and then you're also going to need a cutoff wheel for your Dremel. This is useful in opening up the back of the headlight. You can use a hot knife, you could use a box cutter to open it up. It's going to take significantly longer. The easiest way to do this is with a Dremel. It'll be the cleanest, it'll give you the best lines. It's not going to be a perfect cut no matter how you do it, but this cutoff wheel will give you a nice flat line, so it's easier to glue everything back together. After you open up the housing, put the new projector in, and want to close up everything, you're going to need two things. First, I bought these brackets from Menards. You can get them at Home Depot too, probably. Basically little carpet, that's for millwork, little brackets. But you need these because what you're going to do when you cut open the light is you want a way to hold it together while the glue sets in. So you're going to take this bracket, and it fits nicely right here. And you know, obviously you're cutting right here. This will hold the headlight together while it's curing. So you're going to want to put one on one side and then maybe one on top or one on the other side, depending on how you cut. But you're going to need two of those brackets. Two is all you need. Three is overkill. Four is just, it's excessive. So we got those brackets. Then also, as far as glue, I'm using Permatex black silicone. It's a pretty general use black silicone. Works on plastic. It's interior and exterior grade. It's weather resistant, so inside the engine bay this will be completely fine. And like I said, I did the passenger side already, and it's holding up fine, so I think we're in good shape anyway. So I am going to start by putting this bad boy away, and then we'll start work. Well, actually, let's use that and let's fit the bracket. So the bracket has a flat spot on the bottom here and then a rounded on top. That flat spot lines up with the bottom of the projector housing. Those out of the way. So to fit it, take this guy, and basically these holes on the inside are for mounting to the projector, and these screws go through the front of the projector into the bracket, and then you use the nut on the other side. And then these holes on the outside are what gets mounted to the factory housing mounting locations. So just like with my driver's side one, this bracket that they cut for you looks like they mill it or CNC it. It's not finished too well, so it's still going to need some grinding to make it fit perfectly. So what we're going to do is take a permanent marker and mark up where it's interfering. So basically what it's doing is it's hitting these parts on both sides, so I need to grind it a little bit. So I'll match up the top holes as best as I can here, and then I'll mark where I got to grind. And it's plastic, so it's not going to take too long to do it, but you just got to be careful because you can get carried away with some of this stuff. So we'll take off that side, and then we'll give myself some room to play here. Now once you get this plastic bracket to sit flat on here, you're in good shape. But definitely grind a little bit more so you have some room to play. The holes are dead on, so as long as you can get this to sit flush on the metal projector housing, you're in good shape. But to get there, you do need to grind off some of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll work on opening up the headlight housing. Oops. All right. Okay. So our projector is prepped, ready to go. So we had to grind a little bit more of the bracket than I thought, so I had to grind the top here, and then I also had to grind the bottom sides here to make room for those notches in the metal housing. But other than that, everything fits flush. So again, the black plastic bracket you get to retrofit into your headlight goes on the back of the projector. That way this side fits closer, and the projector itself fits closer to the front lens of the headlight. So then once you get it inside the headlight housing, that bolt there, and there, those are your mounting points into the housing. And then you make sure you put the screws in from the front to the back with the nuts on the back. So as far as the projector itself, we're done with this for a while. We're going to go ahead and pull open the headlight and then start working on that piece. So let me put this away. Alright, so we got the headlight here, and really the game plan with this guy is, let's get this out of the way. You want to cut as close to this as possible because you want to give yourself enough room to get that stock projector out. It's kind of a wide base. I'll show you. So that's the base you got to pull out of there. So you want to leave yourself some room to get it out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a permanent marker and draw a line all the way around this. And that'll be my cut line, and then I'll take my cutoff wheel with my Dremel and go ahead and cut this bad boy open. This stuff cuts like butter, so it's not an issue with that. One thing you got to be careful about is you do have wires inside the headlight housing. So what I did on the driver's side one, or on the other headlight that I did, I took the wire and tucked it inside the stock projector for now. You do got to be kind of careful when you're getting on the side here. So I'm going to go ahead, draw my line, and then I am going to cut it open. So we're flying right along here, and again, this is the most gut-wrenching part, so if you're not prepared for this, send your headlight out to get retrofitted by someone who's a professional. I am by no means a professional, but you know, I already did one. I think we did it alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open this bad boy up and we'll go with it. So the one thing, since I'm cutting with a cutoff wheel, I cannot get too close to this, so I'm going to stay a little bit a ways away from there. So I'll draw my line and then just kind of connect everything up here. So again, keep it in mind that as you're cutting it, you want to make sure that it's something that you could easily put back together. And then before we do that, the one thing I did want to do is mark the top of the headlight, so there's no confusion as to what's the top and what's the bottom when I'm done. So you're not going to be cutting into any of these fins. That's the one thing I will say. So if you stay in front of those, you should be good. So we'll take this guy, and we'll try to draw as straight a line as possible. This will dictate how far we go. This way. We'll go up. wire, we can move that when we're cutting. We'll go straight down on the side here. Similar here, we'll cut over here. And this is just a guide. Pull that guy out of the way. You could adjust this as you're going. Put it there. And ultimately we need to end up here, so we're going to kind of jockey a little bit. And that'll be our cut line. You want to make sure that first cut is the money maker, because if you have to go back and cut more, then you're going to be gluing a hell of a lot more back into place, and it's just not going to be a good scenario for you. So once you get set up to cut, when you cut, make sure your headlight's facing down like this. You're not cutting with the headlight like this, because what's going to happen is all that crap that you're cutting off, that plastic, is all going to end up inside your housing. It's going to be a bitch to get out. So don't do that. So when I cut the headlight, I like to lean it like this, and you just do a side at a time, flip it, do this side, and then take in your time, and then do this side. That should be plenty of room to get it out. You don't need much room to get the new projector in. It's just really to get the old one out. So if I have to bend the factory projector to get out a little bit, I'm alright with that. But I'm going to fire up the Dremel and get it going here. Alright, so we're good to go. We're going to start cutting. Hopefully you can see everything. I got my cutoff wheel, and I'm just going to zip right along this line here. One thing I will say, be careful, wear glasses. This plastic has a tendency to fling, especially in a cutoff wheel. So, you know, using a cutoff wheel, you don't need this thing on high speed. And then the other thing is, again, just as a reminder, you need to be mindful of those wires in there. So they're on the bottom, so once we get to that side, we'll start to everywhere. Once you get that all cut, it should open, right up. And like I said, this stuff is kind of soft. So I have a feeling when you cut it and you're melting it, some of it will plastic weld itself back together. Alright, there we go. So now it's smooth sailing. So the first thing we're going to do is pull out that stock housing. We're going to clean up these wires here. We need to attach these two high beam lights, or these two high beam wires. These will attach to the black wires on our new projector, and then we're going to clean up everything and put everything back together. So again, we're going to pull out this housing, or this projector, clean up all this stuff, all this plastic around the edge here, and then put in the new projector, make sure everything's lined up, screw it in, wire it up, and then glue everything back together, and then we're done. So I think all in all, this will probably take you about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours probably in the first headlight, just so you kind of get the hang of it and, you know, get a feel for what needs to be cut. But this is my second headlight, so I think we're good. So let me go grab my Torx screws. That's Torx in there, and get that opened up. Pops right out. So the next thing we're going to need to do is kind of make way for the aftermarket projector. So if you see in here real close, and hopefully the camera's picking it up, there's a bunch of raised plastic, like tang looking things here. They use that to line up the projector with the holes, but since we're going to be lining up with the 4 bolt holes, we don't need those, and those get in the way of the bracket that come with the kit. So there's, on the bottom right, if you're looking at the back of the headlight, you're going to have to take tin snips and cut out those, or pliers, and just twist and pull them out. Don't let them drop in your housing, because they could end up on the front, inside the lens. And then there is one up here on the top mounting screw, and then one on the bottom mounting screw. There's not one here. Then after that, it's as simple as throwing in the aftermarket projector, wiring up everything here. So this is the plug for the high beams, and then testing it, plugging it in. And then once everything's cinched up, then go ahead and glue everything back together, and we're good to go. Alright, so we got the projector in there, everything's lined up. There is a little bit of wiggle in it, but that's because it's into the adjustment plate. So the adjustment plate kind of moves a little bit, not too much. The factory ones did the same thing. So what I did is I unclipped the that white plug that went into the factory projectors. I'm going to strip these things, and then I'm going to connect them to the bi-xenon plug for the actuator on this shutter, and then we should be ready to go to test out the headlight. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so that's cleaned up. Let's go plug everything in, test it, make sure everything works. Then if it does, we are going to glue everything back together, and that's how it goes. And see a nice clean line. And this is where those metal, where'd they go? This is where that metal bracket's gonna come in handy, because I left myself plenty of room here. So I'll probably put it here or here. This will hold everything together. This will hold everything together while it's gluing or sealing. So I'm gonna put the new D2S bulbs in here, the new igniter. I'm gonna plug it into my HID system and then test it out. In order for the headlight shutter to work, you need to make sure you're plugging it in on the bottom, because this is where the input for the whole car comes from. Even though you're not using this to control the lamp, that's not what's controlling the shutter. The shutter is controlled through here. It is controlled through, I believe, this white wire here. So I'm going to put the lamp in here and then we'll go ahead and test it. Alright, so we just plugged in everything, laid the headlight in place, got everything plugged into the ballast. So this is the plug that goes to my igniter for the D2S, and this is the input for the ballast that tells it to turn on. This comes from the relay harness, which I have tucked back inside there. So, oh, I'm sorry, it's right here. Those are the relays. So let's go ahead and fire it up. Hopefully it works. And we have light. Alright, so you got two extremely sharp cutoff lines now. And the lights start off a little blue and then they turn white. Alright, let's test the high beams and see if those work. Oh yeah. They definitely work. Cool. Alright, well let's glue everything together and button everything up and put it back together. Alright, we are in the final stretch here. So we got all the electrical stuff done. We've got the projector mounted. And everything's in there. I got all the wires situated. Everything's good. I'm going to leave the lamp in there with the lamp holder. That could all stay in there for now. Now what we're going to work on is gluing everything back together. And this is where things get a little messy. But it's the final straightaway, so once we're past this, we're in good shape. So what you're ultimately going to do is take your black silicone and you're going to run a bead, and then you're going to push all that stuff down into the seam, so you make sure that you're sealing up everything completely. So the first thing we're going to do is first line everything up, and then I am going to run a quick bead, a pretty thick one through here, not do anything to it, and then take my brackets here and mount one here, and I will probably mount the other one probably up here. It's the only spot I have room. And that way those two spots will hold everything together. And these aren't the permanent fix to holding everything together. Ultimately that silicone is going to be plenty good as far as strength to get everything sealed up. But these will at least hold it in the interim. So before you do that, we're going to take a drink of beer. Last thing we got to do, we got our cap here. Now if you didn't have an HID kit before, this is a solid piece and you got to drill this out to 1 inch diameter. But if you had an HID kit, it's very likely you had a hole about 3/4 of an inch big. This was for the original, let's see here, I don't have any out, for the amp connector to pass through the housing into the igniter. But now what we need to do is make sure that this bad boy fits through there, and this grommet right here fits in there. So we're going to grind this out about 1 inch, and that should give us plenty of room to make a tight connection in there. Alright, so there is our fully retrofitted stock GMC housing. It is not pretty by any means as far as my silicone work goes, but the back looks good. So we got our igniter hanging out of there, everything's mounted up. And then the pride and joy of everything, that nice new projector. And we tested everything, got those nice sharp lines, so we're going to let this cure, mount it up on the truck, and get everything aim right. So as far as how easy this project was, you know, I've watched this video a few times. I learned a few things in the first headlight that sped up the second headlight. But as far as, how hard it actually is, out of 5 stars, 5 being a complete opening up the headlight retrofit, and 1 being a 100% bolt-on, I'll say this is a 2.5, maybe a 3-star. Just because you do have to cut open the back, and it's a little nerve-wracking to do so. But if you take your time, use the right tools, you should be good to go. Dremel, I would use a Dremel if you're really comfortable with cutting with it. If you're not comfortable with the Dremel, there are other ways to cut this plastic. It's, like I said, it cuts like butter. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with how well this install went together. I wish those brackets would have fit a little bit better, but I do get it. Sometimes things just, it's hard to get things precise on that. I'm happy that I got these bad boys out of the car, or out of my headlights, and then the new ones in. So as far as, how well everything goes together, once you kind of grind everything and get everything fitted up perfectly, there's no issues once you get everything screwed in. So I'm going to go ahead, let this cure overnight. Tomorrow morning I'll install, line up everything, and get to enjoy brand new, awesome, wide and clear headlight beams that the 2014 Sierra severely lacked even with an HID kit. Anyways, that is the installation of the TRS Retrofit kit for the 2014 to 2015 GMC Sierras. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below. But other than that, thanks for watching.